Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live match reaction show on Football Tour podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Liverpool finally did it. We managed to win 4 games in a row as we beat Wolves 2-1 at Anfield. The scoreline will suggest that it was a close encounter. It wasn't, but it wasn't a scintillating performance either. So we'll talk about that during the show as I give you my thoughts and I'll give you my take on the match itself. Then we'll do the player ratings. And if you'd like to call in, there should be a link in the live chat. So feel free to hit that link and I'll get you on and give you guys the platform to have your say. So let's start with the match review. But before I do, of course, today was a special and emotional moment, I guess, in regards to Diogo Jota and his family who were at Anfield today. Diogo Jota's children were the mascots as they were led by Virgil van Dijk and the team onto the pitch. They received a huge reception from all corners of the stadium, and rightly so. I was watching the clips on social media of Van Dijk around the family and the kids on the pitch. Can't lie, it felt a bit emotional watching it. I can only imagine what his wife and his kids have gone through in the last few months. So God bless Diogo Jota and his family, especially his three beautiful kids. But let's talk about the game and let's talk about the first half. Wirtz finds himself in a central position on the break and produces an exquisite pass to split the Wolves defense open and finds Ekitike, who's through on goal. He's hounded by two Wolves defenders, and without much backlift, he manages to loop a shot towards the goal and hits the outside of the post. Very unlucky from the French striker. Mane, not Sadio, for Wolves, has a shot from the left hand side as he cuts in, hits it towards the near post, but comfortable save for Allison in that moment. McAllister has a shot from inside the box, which he hit with real power, to be fair. But fair play to Jose Sarr. He parries the shot onto the post to deny Liverpool, but that streak was broken as Liverpool made it 1-0 through a Gravenberch goal. Great play from Jeremy Frimpong, who takes it on his own stride to be direct, skips past a couple of players, then hits a cutback pass to Gravenberch, who applies a neat finish towards the near post to give the Reds the lead. The Dutchman caps the goal with a nice baby shark celebration in tribute to Diogo Jota. And then the moment arrived, the moment that we've all been waiting for. My client, Mr. Wirtz, announces himself and scores his first goal for Liverpool. But let's give some credit to Hugo Ekitike. His touch to get past Andre was sublime, made him look like a real plonker there. Then he has the vision to thread the perfect ball to Wirtz, who takes the ball in his stride and applies a toe punted finish to open his account. And what a moment it was for Florian Wirtz. He's been a long time coming. He's been knocking on the door for quite some time, but finally gets his reward and gives Liverpool a 2-0 lead before half time. Now, I'm not going to lie. Going into the second half, I was in a bit of a joyful mood. My client had just broken his duck and scored his first goal for the club. So I decided to treat myself with some snacks and a Sicilian lemonade. But in typical Liverpool fashion, they ruined the party and got complacent and made it a very difficult watch in the second half. And unfortunately, they got the first goal in the second half. And I'll be honest with you guys, probably the easiest set piece of the season. Andre hits a routine corner kick into the 6 yard box. Bueno leaps in the air and nods it down to make it 2-1. It looks like Konate may have been fouled in the build up. I personally don't think it was a foul. The defender, I think it was a strike actually, barely touched him. Schoolboy defending from the Reds, if I'm being honest with you, was so vulnerable in defending set pieces. It's quite shocking to see. Maybe we can hire Nicholas Jova on a freelance basis because we really need some help with that department. But back to the game, Liverpool produced some moments that could have led to goals. Jones had a shot from the edge of the box that was saved by the keeper. Wirtz goes on a mazy run on that left hand side, finds Gravenberch in the middle of the box, but his effort was sliced and goes out for a goal kick. However, he was pulled from behind, so maybe we could have got something out of that. But you know, we don't get those kind of decisions, do we? And McAllister had a late shot with a drilled effort towards goal that just missed the post. But Wolves had the best chance towards the latter stage of the game. And I'll be honest with you guys, if it wasn't for Conor Bradley, we probably would have dropped points today as he slides in and makes a last ditch block to deny Arias, who came off the bench. And he was literally a few yards away from going. Probably should have scored a tap in there if it wasn't for Bradley's intervention. But overall, mixed feelings, if I'm being honest with you. The first half, we showed some level of improvements in our performance. The goals were very well taken from Gravenberch and from Florian Wirtz. But the second half wasn't an awful watch, a very difficult watch where I wouldn't say we were getting dominated, but they had a lot of the possession. They were knocking on the door. We had a few chances, as I mentioned, but nothing really clear cut. And it was just a lack of energy, the drive. We just didn't have nothing in the tank. And that's quite worried as a team. And it's this whole 2-0 lead. Like we just don't know how to manage a 2-0 lead. It's quite silly to say out loud, but it's the truth, it's the reality. I don't know if this is tactics from the coach or this is a message from the coach where if you're 2-0 up, you take the foot off the gas. That's what it comes across to me because we seem to reduce the energy levels. We seem a bit complacent, a bit lackluster, or we're not playing with the same intensity anymore. And that's a concern. 2-0 scoreline is never, for me, a scoreline that's, you take a seat back and just, see as a cushion. It really isn't. It's one of those scorelines where if the opponent gets the first goal from their part, the momentum completely shifts. And you can see in the last few weeks, we've been 2-0 up and we've got complacent and teams have got back into the game. Whether they've won or lost is a different situation. But to allow a team to get back into the game when you've been dominant or you've been the better team, that's a worrying sight for me. And that comes from the coach. I know some people say, well, it's the players on the pitch. Maybe they don't have the mentality or their heads drop. That's never been the case for Liverpool in the past. Remember, guys, we're Premier League champions. Why would our head drop if we're 2-0 up? This is something that's been embedded from the coach. And I feel like he's showing a bit of naivety if he thinks 2-0 is a safe scoreline because it really isn't. So that's something that needs to improve. And what also needs to improve is our set piece defending. Yes, that consolation goal didn't, make difference to the scoreline or the outcome in terms of obtaining 3 points. But it still sends alarm bells to me. If we were to face an Arsenal, which we do face in the next couple of weeks, they are the set piece kings. They love to score a goal from set piece. I'll be very concerned going into that game, knowing that they have the capability of scoring goals. Because one day we're going to get punished for these kind of moments. Today we faced a Wolves team that, quite frankly, had no firepower up top, and that probably allowed us to win today. But that's very embarrassing to say that out loud because this is the 20th place team in the team, the bottom of the league. They haven't got a win on the tally this season, and it ended up being a close encounter. For me, this is not acceptable. This has to change. We should have thrashed them 3-4-5-0. It should have been that sort of game. It should have been one-way traffic, but we made it into a two-way traffic, and it ended up being where it was closer than it should have been. So I'm quite disappointed in terms of the level of performance. But if you're looking at it from the other side, we got the 3 points. We are building some sort of momentum. We are progressing as a team. We are climbing up the table as well. I believe we're currently fourth. Let me just double check. So we're currently fourth in the table, which has been a long time since we've been in that position. So we'll take the positives, but I am still concerned in terms of our performances. We really need to do better. This is not acceptable. And just because we're in a respectable position right now, it doesn't mean that the pressure should be off the coach. He still needs to elevate his team further. For me, you guys know my stance on Arsenal. I'm not, overly impressed with the way he's managed the team this season, and I feel like he's been quite lucky with some of the results, especially in the last few weeks, because I don't feel like we have improved in terms of our performances. But what we have done, we've been riding our luck. We've been given goals where mistakes were created from from the other side. Red cards were being flying around, especially the game against Tottenham. Things have gone to our favor, but there's only so much you can sort of ride your luck. That's what we did in earlier parts of the season where we won the first 5 games with late last minute winners. There's only so much you can do that. And when it comes to a 38 fixture league or domestic season, you can't ride your luck throughout the whole campaign. So Liverpool need to improve, if I'm being brutally honest with you guys. But hey, look, we'll take the positives for now. We'll take the the notion that we're doing better. I think we're doing better from gathering points. I don't think we're doing better in terms of the overall performance. I'm not seeing a difference in the way we play. Some players I think have improved in their performances. I'll go into player ratings in a bit more detail, but the likes of Ekitike and Florian Wirtz, those are the players that I really enjoy watching because they have something about them. They play with real sort of technique, and you can just tell that they are above everyone else on the pitch, in my opinion, and they are a joy to watch. And those are the type of players you want to pay and go and watch. The rest, I'm not saying they're bad players or they're boring, but I feel like we've got some sort of ounce of negativity in the way we build up play, and that has to change because we have the quality to play a proper brand of football. You know, not to reference Jurgen Klopp, but we've been accustomed to watching heavy metal football. That's what I want to see in this team because we have the players to really suit that style of play. So let's see if that's going to happen in the near future. My guess would be that whoever, because I don't believe Arne will be here for too long. I think end of the season is the time where we will change direction, and I hope we get the right person in the job who can really take this team and take this club forward. But that's another discussion for another day. Before we do the player ratings, I will go through the comments. Appreciate you guys sending your comments. I'm going to go through it now. Bo said, "Big up, Ozzy. Big up, Bo. I hope you're doing well." Uh, excuse me. Bloody hell. And Bo's second comment is, "Bert's brilliant. Ekitike and ping pong good." That's the only positive to take, to be honest. I would agree with that, to be fair. Those three were definitely the positives from today. Excuse me. Bo says, the Anfield gender guy, I think his name is Craig, is who I think you're referring to, who has some good sources, said that Slot is not going to stay after the season regardless. Thoughts on this, Ozzy? That's music to my ears, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know how reliable these sources are, but I think it would take a miracle for Arne Slot to be Liverpool manager or Liverpool coach next season. When I say a miracle, I mean him winning the Champions League. That would give him another season, if I'm being brutally honest with you guys. If we finish fourth and that's our highlight of the season, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, that's not good enough for us. Considering where we came from last season and the way we spent so much money into the squad, I don't think that's the adequate return from a business, but also a footballing point of view. So hopefully there is some truth to that, but only time will tell. Bosses, and that it is a lot more chaotic in the background than it seems. I can imagine that, to be fair. Bo comments to say, when I was a coach, see a problem in game after game. I work to change it as fast as I can. Slot only complains to the media about corners. Why they only talk and not action with Stozzy? That's the question for on the slot. He has been like that quite a bit this season, where doesn't take accountability and is willing to throw either his own players under the bus or blame the opponent or make it seem like they're very negative. And he's said things in the past where goals that he considered were not real chances, and that the other team were lucky to score. Sometimes you've got to make your own luck. And with how poor Liverpool have been this season, we have created chaos where things have led to, individual errors and all that sort of stuff. So that comes down to the players, but that also comes down to the coach in terms of how we set up. Yes, you can argue to say that, oh, if a player makes an individual error, that's not on the coach, that's more on the player. Agreed to an extent. But when we're conceding silly goals from set pieces, that is from the coach. That is a tactical approach where he decides, is it man mark, are we man marking, are we going zonal? That's the things that they do in training. So that's down to the coach and his staff. So you can't always not take accountability. If you've done something wrong, you have to say from a point blank point of view. But at the same time, um Arsenal hasn't really supported his players as well. He always likes to complain, but that's just his persona. We have to kind of accept it, and well, unfortunately, we have to accept it. We have got no choice, and that's just how it is. Both I'm extremely angry and disappointed. The way Allison had to scream to the bench that Ekitike would be subbed off. How can a manager see an injured player but still keep playing him, Ozzy? I don't know. That's probably something the medics should look into as well. When they're on the sidelines, they have to let the coach know if he's oblivious to it. So yeah, it's just one of those things where better communication. And if Ekitike was really hurt, maybe he should just sat to the ground and let a change happen in that way. But of course, sometimes that's not easier said than done. But yeah, uh, it's just one of those things, I guess. Ozan said, "Big up the man, Ozzy. Big up Ozan. I hope you're well." He says, "Bro, I feel like Ozzy is starting to warm up to start again." No way. I was very disappointed with our performance, especially in the second half. Was not a good performance at all. Uh, I'm both saying facts, Ozan. There is definitely some love there. No, 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 no. Definitely no love from my part. I keep it 100 with you guys. And in terms of his position, you know, I I think I've made it quite clear. I don't want him at the club. I feel like we need a different type of leader. I think we need a new direction. But we have to always keep it 100 and look at the current climate, and that is that Liverpool are fourth in the league now. So because of that, you can't expect someone to get sacked right away. He's going to get the opportunity to at least end the season on his terms. Deserved the Yep, sorry. Man is gonna give Wirtz man of the match in it. That's his client. Yeah, we'll get into the player ratings. Yeah, you could be onto something. To be fair, both are deserved though. It's 100% slot. Um, if you're defending slot, Ozzy, I'm going nuclear. Oh, in terms of today's game, no, I'm not defending slot. No, I don't feel like I have. We can't be parking the bus on any two. No, so that's something that I've been very frustrated in terms of how we manage the game when we're 2-0 up. I said this during the watch along where if Liverpool are 2-0 up, I'm not expecting us to take the back seat. That's never been the Liverpool approach. We've always tried to go for number 3, number 4, number 5. That's how it should be. To feel like 2-0 is a safe scoreline is quite frankly very silly from the coach. And it shows a bit of naivety in his approach and his philosophy because last few weeks is proof that when we've been 2-0 up and the other team gets the consolation goal, that gives them the momentum and it completely shifts. Today we were the home team, but when we're away, Leeds United is the best example. The crowd were really on us that day. That's what it led to the game being a draw. But that game should have been a win for us. And it's because of our complacency where we didn't really hit the next gear. That's what happened. We're in gear 4, and as soon as we get 2 nil, we just drop to gear 2. Like it's just like we don't even drop to gear 3. We literally drop to gear 2, and we completely slow down as a collective. and that's not how it should be. That's not how the big teams play. That's not how Liverpool have played over the years. So I'm quite disappointed in terms of that approach because it's happened quite a few times in recent weeks. Forget the whole season. In the last 2 weeks, it's happened quite a bit. And when it's happened so much, the coach must realize, we have to change our approach or, we have to manage the game better. That's something that Jurgen Klopp learned over the years as well, where he realized as a team we were quite complacent in the last 10 minutes of games. And he made sure that when we were 2-0, 3-0 up around the 80th minute, we're literally just playing ball possession football. Slot just doesn't have that ideology at all, in my opinion. And he needs to rectify that because one day it will cost us where we should be winning games and we end up drawing them and then the points tally decreases and we might miss out on certain qualification or we might miss out in positions in the league and then you end up having a what if moment. What if we had done this and done that? We would have been higher up or we could have challenged for the title. Who knows what the season will end in terms of our final position. But you don't want to have that what if moment when these are little things that can be rectified right now, instantly. So let's see um, what Stock does. But I'm expecting better from him. But at the same time, I feel like this year he has been found out because he's trying to deploy his own tactics, and for me, it hasn't quite worked out the way it should be. To be fair, call it as it is. I try to, bro. I try to. Well, said next for Aussie, Leeds at Anfield, Fulham away, Arsenal away, and Burnley at Anfield. Leeds at Anfield, I'm expecting us to get the win there. Fulham away, I don't know. I just feel like that's a bit of a tricky game. Our results not been the best there over the years, and it is one of those stadiums that's quite small. The crowd is quite close to the pitch, similar to Ellen Road, to be fair. And you know what happened in that result. So I hope we can get the win there. The Arsenal one, we have to perform to our best of abilities to get anything out of that game. I'd take a draw if I'm being honest with you guys, but if we can nick a win, that would be amazing. And Burnley and Fulham, I'm expecting us to win that one as well. Bo just confirmed we always lose to Fulham away. Yeah, it's not one of our favorite stadiums or favorite places to go, so that's one I'm a bit nervous about. If I'm being honest with you, Mark, big up Mark. He says, please contact Alonso urgently. I get Stevie G back as his number two. This style of football is absolutely atrocious. I couldn't agree more. I don't enjoy watching this style of play. I enjoyed the goals today, but that was 2 minutes of brilliance, right? But the rest of the game, it just even the build-up play before the two goals, we were so what's the word? We lacked imagination in terms of how to play the game. We just kept on doing predictable passes, sideways passes, no real sort of creativity in terms of the final third. It was down to Frimpong who went direct and used his burst of speed to his advantage that created an opening for us. And then, of course, the second goal was a moment of good piece of skill from Ekitike to put Wirtz through, and of course, he did the business there. Generally, we were quite poor, we were quite lethargic, very predictable. And I don't like this whole philosophy of just being a ball possession team. You need to have purpose in the way you play. And we have to be direct as a team. Sometimes I just feel like we're just there to complete the stats in terms of having the best pass completions. I don't care about that sort of stuff. The scoreline is the most important thing at the end of the day. So I don't know. This brand of football is not for me. But let's see what the future holds for Liverpool if we go into a new direction. Bo said there's no pause really, Aussie. No, apart from Ekitike having a decent performance today, I thought Frimpong was really good. And it was good to see Florian Wirtz getting onto the score sheet. He's really improved dramatically in the last few weeks. So those are the positives that I can take. But overall, it's just a routine win. But I feel like we could have done more. We could have really made a statement today. And that would have helped in terms of boosting the confidence within the squad. But cautious play or cautious tactics, I should say, hasn't really helped in this situation. Bo says Slot was blaming a team not to play a player who played the game before. That's not for you. Ozzy is really getting to start. No, no, I don't know what you guys are. Honestly, I'm just trying to be as neutral as possible, but yeah, no, if you guys feel like I'm being slotted, that's fair enough. That's your opinion, but no, for me, I'm not slotting at all. Uh, Mark says the medical staff let Alexander walk off with a broken leg. You can see his lower leg broken after the tackle. For Christ's sake, that is a bit of a madness sort of moment there. I was bewildered by why we allowed the player to walk off, even if it wasn't because at the time I don't think it was the obvious leg break. It was obviously he was in a lot of pain, and he was holding onto his ankle, and you're thinking, what could have happened there? I actually thought it was a knee injury because he was holding his knee first. Um, but yeah, it was just one of those moments where the stretcher was literally just there on the sidelines. Even if the players that no, I want to walk off, the medics, it's their responsibility to say to the player, look, we're the professionals. This is our field. You cannot walk off the pitch. You need to sit. You need to lie down on the stretcher because the more you walk, the more you're going to aggravate that injury. Because who knows if he hadn't walked, it may have been, no, I'm not saying it would have been a minor injury, but he would have aggravated that injury further, and it could have been where the rehab or the process to get back into action again would have been a lot less. So yeah, the medics team have to take one on the chin there because that was poor from their point of view. But also, please talk about Konate the way he was bigging up the fans like he was doing his job. Get that twat out of our club now. We'll speak about the players in the ratings shortly. Um, Abdul says, hi, I was in chat. Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam to you. Abdul, hope you're well. He says, Liverpool 2, Wolves 1, rest in peace, Jota. We need two centre backs, a CDM, and the two wingers, Zulu, Steve, and Bo. What players do we need? Uh, Zulu, Steve said, yo, and good evening, Lozzie. Liverpool FC need to sign Clavan, Kromkamp, Deegan, Kregos, and Konchesky. Bloody hell. The last one, you didn't have to mention Konchesky. Seeing him in a Liverpool shirt still gives me nightmares, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, big up yourself, Steve. Boss, everything's rotten from the top to the bottom. Don't think you understand, Ozzy, we are in crisis. I don't think we're in crisis, to be fair. I know it's not the way we're wanting to see our club right now. I wouldn't go far as saying we're in crisis, maybe because we've got different sort of results now where we're winning, where we're notching up points, and maybe the feeling's a bit different now. But we'll just have to take it one at a time, I guess. Abdul says, what about Akulani, Carroll, Darwin, Nunes, Poulsen, Titi Kamara, Keita, Diouf? I quite liked Titi Kamara. I thought he was a decent player for us, to be fair. Decent. We need all of them. We need 22 new players into the January window. Liverpool need to spend £7 billion as soon as possible and get the whole family of Slot into culture staff. No, thank you. Um, let's go. What's the next comment here? Steve saying, give the man a lifetime contract. He's definitely trolling us there. Um, yeah, Konchesky. Yeah. He has to be arguably the worst signing we've ever made in Liverpool history. It's really, really bad. Um, well, boss, the reason you say we are not in crisis because of results, obviously, yes, 4 losses instead of the wins, crisis. Then, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I understand your point in terms of you saying that we're not going in the right direction as a club. There's clearly issues there, but I think crisis would be a bit of a stronger of a word. Now, I think in November, that's when I felt like we were in crisis, and I was very surprised that the club didn't take action in terms of releasing the coach there. But I did say this at the time as well. If you guys remember, I did a show in terms of assessing potential interim options, plus managers that are free agents right now, and coaches or managers that we feel like could take this club forward. In terms of the latter, it was managers that are currently employed, and it would have been very difficult to get them out of their contracts at this stage of season, especially in terms of free agents. No one really appealed to me. I did say that the solution would be maybe Steven Gerrard in an interim, but that would still be a risk if I'm being honest with you. As much as we love the player, but as a manager, there are still question marks in my opinion. So it's just one of those things where you know if we manage to get the results this season and we end up qualifying for the Champions League, I know it's not what we want to hear, but it's the bare minimum based on how poor we were in the first half of the season. And I'm not saying I'm happy with that, but what I will say is that it would be a risk to get rid of Slot now just because we feel like he's not the man for us. If we are losing games, then you have to take action. But if we're winning games and we're climbing up the table, you have to kind of give him the time to, I guess, build that momentum and hopefully get us in a better position this season. But having said all of that, I'm not enjoying the football this season. Last season, it I found it a little bit refreshing that we were better defensively as a unit, but it took with that it took kind of took away from our attacking play as well. But because we were winning and we won the league, you can't really complain at that moment, right? So for me, I don't think we're in crisis, but I do feel like there needs to be some change. I think the coach is the one that needs to be moved on in the summer, and we need to bring in someone with a different philosophy, different approach that suits the current crop of players because we spent a lot of money on these players that are quite fair, or should I say, quite frankly, the future of the club. So they're not players we just bought for the sake. They are players that we expect to build a team around. So with that, I feel like we have to be a bit more calculated and not just get rid of a coach because we're not happy with the way we're playing. Football is a results business. Let's not forget. So if we're getting the results, then that's just how it is. Unfortunately, uh, Steve says no, man. It was Charles Itanji hands down. Was Yeah, he was quite terrible, wasn't he? Of course, what he did at the Hillsborough Memorial was just pathetic. But that's just, I think that's just the character of the person rather than from a footballing point of view. I don't know. Maybe it's easier to judge outfield players because I feel like Konchesky should never been anywhere near Liverpool shirt. Quite frankly, even if he had gone to Sports Direct to one of those shops, I hope they would have declined for him to wear to buy a top. And even I remember his mom saying that it was this worst decision to join the club. So I guess we're on the same boat because it was a worse decision for us to even sign that player all those years ago. So yeah, maybe Tanji is, but for me, I'm probably looking at it more from outfield players' point of view. He was by far one of the worst we've ever signed. Football is more than results. I agree, but when you're at the top, it is about results. Unfortunately, it is about making sure you qualify. Look, next week is match week 19, so we're halfway through the season now. And if we're, in the top four right now, we're currently fourth. We are 7 points behind Aston Villa. Aston Villa having a sensational season right now. They beat Chelsea 2-1 today, didn't they? Um, in terms of the champions or the champions, Mama crowning them champions. In terms of the league leaders, sorry, we're 10 points away. So I'm not saying we're going to go for a title charge, but we have to look up. We can't look down, in my opinion. So we have to be progressive as a club. If we were to sack Slot today and we got a Steven Gerrard, there is no guarantee we'll be able to get points, in my opinion. And there really isn't anyone out there that I feel like can make an instant impact at the club. So why not just use the rest of the season to build up in terms of momentum and try and qualify for the Champions League, and then of course make the required action at the end of the season. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens for Liverpool and in terms of the long term future. Mark says, on a serious note, and this is going to be controversial after today's time to let Diogo rest in peace being long enough. Even Jota himself wouldn't want the constant reminder every game. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think there's any harm in us fans showing our respect to Diogo Jota, in the 20th minute in every game. Uh, you know, each to their own, I guess, in that regards. But I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with doing that. But when it comes to someone passing away, everyone grieves a certain way, and as fans, we're just showing our support for the player. So I don't feel like it's overshadowed anything. Like today, for example, it was about Diogo Jota because it was the first time that Liverpool and Wolves played together in a match, and of course, those two clubs being his former clubs. So it was the right time to come together, and it was good to see his missus there. It was good to see his family there. It was good to see his kids there. We are a family club. Let's not forget that. So for us, it's important to show that they haven't been forgotten. They are part of the family, and they are loved as well. So I don't really see there being too much of an issue. I know some people might think it overshadows the football element, or you know maybe because mentioned all the time. I don't get that feeling. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. Aldo says, "Do Steve and Bo need to be a head coach at Liverpool? We win the Premier League for 30 years straight. Those are facts." Uh, no offense to Steve and Bo. I don't know if you guys got the credentials to take this club and win the quadruple. But if you do, please get your CVs ready and submit it to FSG as soon as possible. Still the same video game. Nobody wins for 30 years straight. Um, Worst signing ever. Naby Keita has entered the chat. In the year Cup era, for me, that is the number one pick. Some will have other names, but Naby Keita was by far one of the worst signings we made. But I guess if you're looking at it from the money we spent, yeah, he might be the biggest flop because we spent 50 million on him. But we had signed some really, really, really terrible, terrible players over the years, especially that Hodgson era. Players that should not even have been allowed to enter Anfield, let alone play for the club. So that's why you've got to manage it in that way. But if you're talking in terms of pound for pound, in terms of the transfer fee, yeah, you might be right on the Naby Keita one there. Um, um, still we sign a cricket manager as LFC Gaffer. Lee says, "Big up, Les. Big up, Lee. Hope you're well." Um, Jeremy, big up Jeremy. He says, "Are we actually going to sign no one in January, as the reports have been saying? We are a couple injuries away from a full-blown crisis in that regard." I'm a little bit surprised by that. That's what was presented by James, aka Killjoy Pierce. That's what I like to call him, because he always likes to steal any good rumors or good sort of speculation we hear online. Um, I don't know. Maybe they're managing expectations to not expect us to do too much business, but I think if we don't go into the market and not sign a centre back, I think that would be suicidal. We really need to sign a centre back. In terms of our current squad, just look at our bench today. We had Rio, Trainioni. Of course, I'm not saying they're bad players, but they are young and inexperienced. We had Calvin Ramsey as well. And who else did we have? We had another player that I can't. Oh, Welity Lucky as well, who's literally been put on the bench because we have no centre backs available. So when you've got inexperienced like that, half of your squad are inexperienced players. That's a bit of a concern. But then again, you'll look and say, we do have the likes of Gomez, Wataru Endo, Isak, Leone are injured, so that's why those four would have been in the squad if they were fit and ready. But then maybe we need to be a bit more smart in our recruitment and have one or two squad players that aren't, because when we do the squads, you always say two good players per position, right? But maybe we need one or two extras that can cover the whole defense, that can cover the whole midfield, just to give us added weight and added depth and quality in our squad. But I think we need to get centre back. It's a must. In terms of the midfield, I think we're fine. Personally, I think we have the numbers. Of course, if we have a couple of injuries, then everything goes to pear shape, doesn't it? And in terms of attackers, we still have enough options to switch players around and have a decent firepower up top. So defense is the one that I feel like we are literally one moment away from really falling apart. And I'm all discussing that we've got momentum. We've been winning back-to-back games. But what if Kanate picks up an injury? Touch wood, he doesn't. But what if he does pick up an injury? Who goes at centre back? It's Gravenberch. That's the only option we have right now. And who goes in defensive midfield? McAllister? No, because I do not trust him in that position. And I've voiced my thoughts on McAllister quite a bit. I've not been impressed with him at all. I do feel like in the summer it might be time to move him on. That might be an unpopular opinion there, but that is my take. So I'll be very surprised if we don't look into the market, but we'll see. The market opens in the next few days, so hopefully we get some sort of news going forward. Bo said Pep becomes available in the summer. Aussie. Pep Guardiola, yeah, he's not going to be Liverpool manager. That would be amazing, but not realistic in my opinion. Um, Seriously said Naby lad had his few moments though. Aussie. He did, but I think I think it was Mark that mentioned it in terms of like how much he cost and how much of an impact he had for a £50 million player. I don't think he had much impact, to be fair. And of course, some will say, he was unlucky with injuries, but I wasn't overly pleased with his performances as a Liverpool player. He had a few moments, as you mentioned, especially in the season where we won the league. But other than that, no, not for me. But also FFS, we don't need any new players. The manager of Liverpool does with what he has. I think we need a centre back personally. We don't have any backup options. There's only so much you can do with Konate and Virgil because after that, where do you turn towards? Joe Gomez should be available in the next couple of weeks, but can we rely on Joe Gomez to back up? Not for me, in my opinion. Lee said bad news Pierce. Yeah, he is bad news Pierce, isn't he? Now, but according to people, we need 22 new players. No, 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 not 22 players. I think a centre back would be the sort of the right profile that we need. Midfield or attackers, I think, can wait until the summer. But you know how the club moves. If there are targets that we've shortlisted become available in January, we might go earlier than planned. But otherwise, I think we need to prioritize centre back. And if you want me to give you guys a name, for me, it has to be Schlotterbeck. That's the guy that I want to see in a local shirt. Mark said, if we don't get Gay again, it's unforgivable. I don't think Mark Gay is going to move in the January window for a number of reasons. I think from his point of view, it makes more sense for him to stay at Palace and then explore his options at the end of the season because he will have a lot of offers on the table. And I think from his point of view, in regards to his current club, I would say they mugged him off on transfer deadline day. He should have been a Liverpool player. And because of that, he won't say it publicly, but he will definitely feel disrespected in terms of what happened there. He was the model professional who trained, he did the preseason, he did everything by the book and didn't get his move. When you look at the player that we signed, Isak, who went against the grain, he went on strike, he refused to train, he refused to go preseason, and look where he ended up. He ended up signing for the club. So, sometimes when you do things the right way, doesn't mean you're always going to get rewarded. And in that moment, he didn't get his move. So he will certainly feel some sort of way towards Crystal Palace. And if he was to move in January, that would definitely give them a financial boost. And maybe he doesn't want them to have that financial boost. So I think he'll wait until the end of the season, explore his options and take it from there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he moves abroad. I can see him moving to a club like Bayern Munich, for example, but let's see what the future holds for Gay. I would love for him to be a Liverpool player. I've been saying it for a good few weeks now. My gut feeling is telling me I don't see him becoming a Liverpool player, unfortunately. But hopefully, I am wrong in that matter. Lee said we definitely need a centre back. I agree, we do. Rest in peace, Stuart Pearce's son. Rest in peace. I'm not sure who that is. But rest in peace anyway. But also, if injury comes, you bring people from the academy and effing play them and make them grow. We're not a buying club. Please understand that. But if the players aren't ready to play, um, then I don't want to throw in a young player into the first team and then expect them to just be fantastic all of a sudden. There has been players in the past where we've put them in the first team, and after 2, 3 games where they've really underperformed, it's killed their confidence. So you don't want to put too much pressure on a kid. It's not from a technical point of view that they're not ready. It's more psychological. It's more from a mental point of view that can they handle the pressure and the burden of playing for a huge club like Liverpool. We're not any club. There's a lot of expectations when you put on that red shirt. And I don't think a lot of our players can manage that at this stage of their careers. So I get you in terms of giving players an opportunity. Of course, we had Lucky on the bench today. If we needed a centre back, he would have been brought on. So in terms of what you've just said, we have brought someone from the academy into the squad. It's just that we're not going to displace Kanate or Virgil van Dijk to put him in the starting lineup because, quite frankly, he's not good enough to displace either of them. Despite what you think about Kanate and his current situation at the club, he's still the better player. So we have to respect that and we have to play your best players. Otherwise, us just throwing youth players for the sake of it makes no sense from a footballing and from a sort of a logical point of view because you're just hampering the progress of the team. And right now we've got a bit of momentum, so I feel like we need to try and build it and try and climb up that table as the season goes on. Um, this is what happened to him, Abdul. Yeah, let us know, Abdul, in terms of who you're referencing to. Um, and he said, "Rest in peace, Jota and Andre. Rest in peace, indeed." AR can play centre back Oz. He's left-footed too. uh, Harley Pierce died. I'm not sure who this is. Sorry. Um, Boss, a Liverpool manager develop players, not buy players left and right. But look at what you refer to. If you refer to him as Liverpool manager, he's not a Liverpool manager. He's a Liverpool coach. We've discussed this as well. I don't think he has that kind of power or that control to bring players through the ranks. I think he's literally been given players to manage and train. That's his role. So that's why you have to understand his job isn't what a manager used to be in terms of the Jurgen Klopp days or the Benitez and Julia, those days. That's why he's got a different job title. He doesn't have that power. He doesn't have the responsibility to think about developing youth and bringing them into the team. His job is just to manage the first team. That's how he's looking at it, in my opinion. Uh, and I've just said, do we have Rivaldo, Messi, and Roberto Carlos? They are both left footed. Uh, Both said about one sentiment. I agree. Sign a sentiment and let's go. I wouldn't get rid of Canate. I know you're not a big fan of him right now based on what he's currently doing with his contract. We have to just keep him on board. And if he goes on a free, he goes on a free. But yes, a centre back is a must. He needs competition. We need cover, or we just need added strength and depth for that department because we don't have any numbers. Leone would have been an option, but unfortunately, he's out for the foreseeable future. So when a player's out for that long, there's only so much you can do. And bringing a young player like Lucky for me is not the answer. I bring a player like Nalo is not the answer. Nalo's played 2 games and has got 2 red cards. So I can't really trust a youngster to deliver when he's got that kind of record. That's no disrespect to him, but that is a fact. He's got 2 red cards in 2 games. So for me, he's clearly not ready to play in the first team. And that's my issue there with young players. You can't just throw them in, expect them to produce worldy performances. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Steve says AR needs to replace he was still a batter as a striker. That's funny. Um, Jeremy's asked, would we renew Robertson and or Konate? Konate, no. But that's because I don't think he will personally. Um, And if I'm being honest with you, I don't think he deserves a new contract based on this season's performances. Because when you give him a new contract, that would entitle him to have improved terms and have a long contract. Look, I'll say it like this: I wouldn't be completely against it, but I just don't think it would be the right thing to do. And let's say for whatever reason he doesn't get his Real Madrid move and he signs a new contract, he can't be the first choice centre back alongside Van Dijk. We have to upgrade on Konate. So I sign a Schlotterbeck and make him third choice or fourth choice. That's how I would utilize Konate because I don't think he's good enough to be in the sort of the starting lineup. I don't think he's consistent enough, and that has been shown this season. In terms of Robertson, it's I think you don't want to bring sentiment into this, but of course, for what he's done over the years, you'd like him to stay for another season. Um, and I'll be honest with you, this season he's not performed that bad. He's actually done a decent job for us at times. But I think the right thing to do will be to sign another fullback to challenge Kirkez and maybe let Robertson move on. So to answer your question, no, I don't think I would renew the contracts. But then you're losing a lead in Robertson, and that's a bit of an issue because I don't feel like we have enough leaders in our squad. But having said that, I always look at that fullback position, and I always feel like you need to be a certain age, certain profile to play that role to the highest level. And even though he's produced some good performances this season, I probably want a bit more, if I'm being honest. And I probably want someone to really challenge Kirkez because he needs competition in order for him to continue his development, continue to progress, and continue to excel. I feel like he's the type of players where if he's not pushed, I don't think he performs. So therefore, we need to get someone of adequate quality that will challenge him for that left back position. But let's see. If Robertson wants to say, I wouldn't be mad at it because I do like him. He's an experienced player, which you do need in your squad. But I feel like maybe we go for a different profile and get someone that can challenge Kirkes and maybe even become the first choice left back in the end. Um, Abdul saying we need centre back, season winger. Uh, McAllister looks tired. Yeah, I agree. He looks very tired today. I will speak about his ratings very shortly. Um, Ozzy, do you know the reason why with Klopp after halftime we were pressing and scoring goals, but with Slot we look like we don't care? I know why, Ozzy. It's his tactical approach. That's the way he sets his team up. With Jurgen Klopp wanted us to demolish teams. He wanted us to thrash teams. He wanted us to beat teams 5-6-0 every game. So that's the different mentality as a coach. Slot doesn't have that mentality. He's not aggressive in that manner in terms of his demeanor, but also in his tactics and the way he sets his team up. So that's what I'm saying. It's two different styles. So whenever people say that, oh, Michael Edwards brought in on a slot and Richard Hughes as well, actually brought in on a slot because he met the data metrics. He may have met certain metrics, but in terms of personality, they are complete the polar opposites. And that's been evident in terms of his man management and the way he presents himself and the way he sets his team up tactically. So, no, it's just a different approach from different coaches. That's literally what it is. Klopp used to play Phillips and Willian at centre back and got third place. Both were academy graduates, but that wasn't down to those two players being very talented. It was down to desperation. We were very, very desperate at that point. We had no Virgil van Dijk. He was out for the rest of the season due to like a horrific injury against Everton. Joe Gomez played a few games. He picked up an injury. Matip played a few games. He picked up an injury. So we have Fabinho Henderson playing centre back times. So we had no choice but to go into our reserves and bring in Phillips and Williams. And Phillips wasn't an 18, 19-year-old. He was a player in his early 20s. He was a bit part player, a player that should have been moved on at the time, but we couldn't get him a suitor. So that's why he was able to play. And he had a couple of moments here and there, but it was quite evident that he wasn't good enough to be a Liverpool centre back. And the same with Reece Williams, he's still at the club. We just can't seem to get rid of him. So in that moment, we were very desperate. And look, we signed two centre backs. We signed Ozan, club back, and he did all right. We signed Who was it? Was it Davis? His name was. He was a hologram. I can't remember his name. That's how much of an impact he had. So clearly, we tried to address the position by making two centre back signings in that January window. One worked out to an extent in terms of giving us a different option in the defence, in the sort of centre back position. The other one barely featured. So, you know, those two players weren't promoted because they were really good. That was desperate, desperate times there. In terms of, there's no correlation to the current time. We've got Virgil van Dijk and Kanate. But my problem is that we don't have backup for those players. We don't have cover for those players. And the players that we regard as cover are not even available, like sort of Endo, Joe Gomez. They're both out for the foreseeable future. So that's my concern there. And those two players were, especially Phillips, he was early 20s, as I mentioned. Williams, I can't remember what age he was, but he was the better centre back in that youth setup. Whereas Lucky's still very young. He's not the best in his sort of youth team right now. He might be to an extent, but that doesn't mean he's good enough to be in the first team. So it's different scenarios, there different situations there. We were very desperate during that season. And remember, it wasn't for the whole season. They came in the second half of the season. I don't think we made Wolves look good. I don't think we made them look good. We just got complacent, if I'm being honest. Both it's about the manager, not the players. Steve said, I think Gay is no longer interested in playing for us, if I'm honest. That's not sabotage that deal. I don't know in terms of Gay. My gut feeling is telling me that it's not as clear as day that he's going to join Liverpool just because that move never materialized doesn't mean automatically he's going to sign in the next window. I feel like he's realized that there is a lot of interest in him, and it's probably the best thing to do uh, is wait until the end of the season and then evaluate his situation. Who knows? He could sign as a free agent in the summer, but I think he will definitely assess his option and take it from there. So that's the feeling that I get from Mark Gahey. Arne says Arne Slot approach is all wrong this season. He has been tested and found out. Mark says makes me even more glad about Leone. That kid looked good. He did. I know it's just one cameo, one appearance against Southampton, but he looked really promising. Now, had he not picked up that injury, honestly, I think he could have actually challenged for a spot. And I'd like even go far and say I think maybe he could have even displaced Konate in the team. That's how much he looked impressive in his cameo there. But unfortunately, he's got an ACL injury, and those injuries are, I don't want to say career threatening. That sounds a bit too harsh and a bit too strong, but it can impact certain players. So I'm just hoping that he's able to make the right recovery and he's able to return stronger as a player and mentally strong as well, because it does have a huge impact in terms of your mental health. So hopefully, he's in good health, he's in good spirit, and he comes back a stronger player next season. I would say, big up to yourself, Abdul. Boss FFS Aussie, a coach develop players as well. That is what a coach is. Yes, I don't disagree with that, but you can't just say bring in a youth centre back to displace one of your senior men. That for me uh, doesn't make sense. If I'm being honest with you, like to play players like Lucky and Rio and Trinioni, you've got to play them in the cup games, not in Premier League fixtures, unless you've won the league title and things are wrapped up. Yes, it's his role, but I don't trust this coach to develop these players. Quite frankly, I don't trust this coach to develop Rio. Maybe under Jurgen Klopp, for example, he would have excelled and performed a lot more games this season. This coach doesn't really have that philosophy or that sort of state of mind, in my opinion. So look, it is what it is. I feel like we just have to look at what the current situation is. Right now, we're winning games. We might not be playing pretty, but we're getting points, and that's what we need at this stage. Because quite frankly, 2 months ago, it doesn't look like we could have even won a game. It was that bad for us. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those times where, unfortunately, due to what we suffered, we're taking each win as a blessing. That's what it feels like for me. So I can't even take wins for granted right now. Steve said, "Where's like he needs to play against Barnsley?" Oh, and Rio as well. I definitely agree. I'd probably add Trey Nyoni into that mix. There's a rumor about Trey Nyoni, which I'll speak about towards the end of the show, which could impact his involvement, but we'll speak about that shortly. It's the thing is, if you aren't going to put your foot on their throat and kill the game off at 2-0, you have to be defensively stronger. Yes, definitely. But this is not into the slot because I don't think this is his style. But I would like our coach to use attack as a defensive mechanism. So when you're 2-0 up, don't just sit back and think that's it, job done. Keep going. Keep going for the third goal. Keep going for the fourth or the fifth. And I think that's the frustration with the fans right now, where we're not doing that. We're 2-0 up, we're sitting back, but then we're allowing teams to apply pressure on us. And because of that, we are struggling and we're in a bit of a mess. We're nervous when we shouldn't be nervous. We were in control, but also we've lacked control because of that approach. So that approach needs to change from the coach. It's not just down to the players. So this is like this is what he embeds into the team in terms of the way the game should be played. And quite frankly, I don't like it. It needs to change going forward. Steve says also, where in the world is Stefan Bajtic? When will he be ready to contribute? Can I be honest with you? I've lost hope when it comes to Stefan Bajtic. I know there's still some section of the fan base that are holding up for dear life or holding up for some sort of resolution or some sort of light that he will come good and he will perform. And I've heard some people say if he was to come in, he'd have a huge impact. The guy is not there. He's not available. I don't know what his injury is. And quite frankly, I don't think he has a future at Liverpool. So, I can't be hopeful about a player that's barely played for us. Just because he was decent a few years ago doesn't mean he's decent now. And I don't think he's going to be a viable option. I don't even know what the issue is, to be honest with you. So the best thing Liverpool can do, if he is fit, just move him on. He's just not made for this club. He's not made for the Premier League football, in my opinion. Bo says, and now it is desperation, obviously, because Konate is shit. Yeah, look, I'm not Konate's biggest fan, especially this season, but you have to make of what you do. Right now, we're not blessed with options, are we? Take Konate out. Would you say you trust Lucky and Van Dijk as a combination? I personally wouldn't, to be fair. I was gonna say somebody mentioned my name. Was yes, we did mention your name indeed. Lisa, he was in the background of a video the other day. Steve, he wasn't playing footy though. I've seen a video of him and Frimpong a few weeks ago, but he's not. I don't know what he's doing. To be fair, I really don't. Delicious. Is it crazy how some athletes' bodies are just not made for consistent football? D Storage, same thing. Yeah. So in terms of storage, when of course we had Jurgen Klopp, you know, a lot of former players have voiced this. The way they trained was so intense that it would literally have a toll on their bodies. They would do training like it's a match. Like that's how intense it was. And maybe our training isn't as intense. That's why we get complacent during games. And again, that comes from the coach. So he needs to do better there, in my opinion. And yeah, in terms of storage, he was such a technically gifted player. Injuries unfortunately just hampered his legacy because I feel like if he was fit for large parts of his career, I think he'd be arguably one of the best English strikers in history. I really did. That's how much of a talent he was. You didn't really get English strikers that had so much flair and skill the way he did, and he was a very clinical finisher. So yeah, of course, we enjoyed some good moments with him, especially that the season where he formed a great partnership with Suarez. That's probably one of the best combinations I've seen in a Liverpool shirt. But yeah, just sad into the how his career panned out. Really good player. Lee said it's a cruel irony to have the skill to be a pro but not the body. Yeah, that is true. Was it how can you defend the manager then? If it sounds like I'm defending the manager, I'm not. I'm just stating the reality. The reality, if we're talking about centre backs here, who would you bring in as a centre back option to get rid of Konate? I've voiced it so many times this season. I don't like Konate's performance. I don't like his demeanor. I don't like the way he's performed. He lacks focus. I feel like his head's in Madrid right now. So I'm not impressed with him at all. But who else is there? When Joe Gomez was fit, I was saying bring Joe Gomez into the starting lineup. But he barely featured, and then when he did feature, he got injured. So I can't rely on an 18-year-old to save our season. That's how I'm looking at it. And he's not a wonder kid. No offense to Lucky, but He's not a Kubasi. He's not that type of defender that's gonna change the world right now. So for me, that's not the way to go. Bolson, would swap every 3 points in to get Klopp back, but that's not reality. Klopp's made his thoughts very clear. He doesn't want to be back in management, so we kind of have to just get over that, unfortunately. Um, Lewis could say we are doing real a disservice keeping him with the first team, not playing him. Kidneys regular games. That I definitely agree with. I feel like um, in terms of I feel like he should have remained in the under 23s where he could have played more games. I know it's not the level that he probably wants to be at right now, but he's just turned 17. So for me, he needs to play in an environment where there's less pressure. He can make mistakes, but he can also learn the trick and the trade of being a winger. And if we don't feel like he's quite ready for the first team next season, then I think the loan move would be the right way to go. Uh, but having said that, he's been part of the first team mix. So if he's there, he needs to be utilized. But the coach, I don't know, he made a comment the other day in the press conference that I didn't quite like the sound of, where he tried to suggest that, oh, he's probably got the most minutes out of any 17-year-old in the league, but he's barely featured. So, what I'm saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And, Arnold clearly isn't doing it that way. So for me, it needs to be a thing where he needs to be given a bit more of a chance and not to be brought on when we are in desperate need of a match winner. Bring him on when you are on top, you know, give him the confidence to really excel and play with freedom and enjoy the game as well. He's a kid, let him enjoy being a professional. But this coach, I don't really get that kind of vibe from him that's his demeanor, which is such a shame because we, as Liverpool fans, we've really enjoyed players coming through the ranks and making a success out of the game, and we want to see that more, don't we? We want to see more players come through the academy and fulfill their dreams of playing for their boyhood club. But unfortunately, I'm not getting that vibe from this coach, unfortunately. Bo says you have changed your tone since the PSV game, Dozy. If you feel like I'm being more supportive of Slot, that is your opinion. I don't know how much I can voice that I'm not happy with the coach. I tried to say it bluntly as possible, but if that's how you feel, that's all good. Um, I've just looked at it. Well, look, we're getting results. I'm not saying we're happy, but at least we're making some sort of progress. But let's say we kept on losing and we still kept with this coach, in the club right now, then what do I do? Do I continue supporting him? No. But if we're winning games, we have to support the team. Number one, always support the team, regardless of who the coach is, if you like the coach or not. And even if you don't like the player, it is what it is in that regards. But for me, the team's winning. They're excelling right now. So I'm supporting my team. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't like the coach. I'll voice that, and I have voiced it. I've released videos about things like that, and my opinion hasn't changed. I'm not here to say slot in. I'm not slot in. I would like it to be where we do find another coach, but in reality, there is no one out there that we can just displace him with. So we just have to look at it from a realistic point of view. There isn't much we can do, but to keep faith, especially if he's getting results. If he's losing back-to-back games like he was before, then it's a different discussion altogether. Uh, Delucio says, "Rest in peace, Dara Azizi, who is Bashir's agent." Bloody hell! I, look, I've never been on the boat of Bashir. I thought he, quite frankly, some people might find this a bit weird, but when he broke into the team, he looked decent out of a bad bunch. Like we had the likes of Fabinho who lost his legs. We had Henderson who just was a shadow of himself, and he looked like a decent player in that moment. But after that, I don't think he's done much in his career. So I don't really have that kind of high hopes of him of doing well at Liverpool. Play lucky or grab at centre back, but then who do you play in DM? We don't really have a DM, right? Endo would be your choice as a natural DM. He's not available. McAllister, do you trust McAllister as a DM? Because quite frankly, that scares the hell out of me. And we will be losing games 5-0. I'll tell you that for free because he's an awful player, especially if you have him as your number six. The guy has no legs. You saw it today. He's playing as a number 10 and he's exhausted every game. As a number six, you might not believe it, but when you're playing that number six role, it's more tiring because you're covering more ground, you're covering the fullbacks, you're protecting the back line, but you're also being an extra player in the final third when needed. So you are roaming around all over the pitch. As a number 10, you're pressing from the front, but your defensive duties are minimized because your DM is helping you out in that regards. So I don't think Lucky is that player. I don't know if you've watched Lucky more than me. Um, but I don't. Just because he's a young player, just because he's a name, it doesn't mean he's the next big thing. Just because they're Liverpool youth players doesn't mean they're the next big thing. We can go through a list of a lot of youth players that we thought were going to be superstars, but didn't reach that heights at all. So we've got to be careful in terms of how you manage these young players. How do you know that Lucky's not a wonder kid, Ozzy? I've only seen him briefly. I've not seen a whole lot of him. So, if you believe he's a wonder kid and you tell me that he is, then, I'll take your word for it. From what I've seen in small clips here and there, he's a young defender learning his trade. He's not the final article. So for me, to put him in the mix right now, I think it would be the wrong approach, if I'm being honest. Steve says, Lee, are you the same Scouse lead from Anfield Irishman's stream? Lee saying no. Let's talk about the 22-year-old from Wirtz. I think his name is. He looks a decent prospect. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Doesn't look bad at all. Lee said he's a mod on that channel. Okay, big up yourself. I've been waiting for Ozzy to give his client the flowers, but man is arguing with the chat. I know I've been on a bit of a rampage defending um, the coach's selection for centre back, but yeah, we got to get into the ratings there. Uh, Bo says John DM. Yeah, but we don't play with one DM. We play with in the double pivot, don't we? So it's Jones and someone else. So who would you play alongside him? Jones and McAllister I don't think would work. If Endo was around, I'd have a bit more confidence because I know as a pairing they work well. Who else is there? There isn't. So that's my whole point. Um, I have watched a lot of games with Lucky and he's really good on the ball. But is he ready for the step up? Is he ready for Premier League football? That's the big question there. A player develop when he plays. Do you think Rio gets better on the bench? No, I don't agree with that. He doesn't. But that's why I said he shouldn't be part of the first team mix if he's not going to be an active member. He should have either stayed with the under 23s or he should have been loaned out. I've said this quite a few times in the last few months. And, I can't remember who was in the chat, but someone said to me that, oh, you sound like a father figure when you talk about Rio because you're trying to present in a logical way. But that's the way I'm looking at it. You have to do what's best for the player. If he's not playing first team football, if he's not an active member, he shouldn't be here because I feel like we're wasting his time and we could really discourage his confidence going forward because now he's going to doubt his ability. He was probably in great confidence in preseason because he was getting chances and he was performing really well. But he should have been rewarded with some starts and some games this season. He hasn't done, in my opinion. So that's down to Slot for not giving the player the chance. But if Slot doesn't believe that he is the player that can have an impact in our team, he shouldn't be here. He should be under 23s or on loan. That would be the best for his development, in my opinion. Um, we don't know if a player is good when he plays. Simple as that, Ozzy. We would rather play a man who is toying with our club. That's up to you. Look, I hear you in terms of the Konate stance, but we don't know the full picture. That's why I've not been very vocal about Konate because some reports will tell you that they're talking right now. Some will say he's gone to Madrid. My prediction is that he's going to go to Real Madrid. That's what I'm predicting. But we don't know until we don't get no clarification. We won't know the full picture. But I'll say it again. If you're asking me who to pick out, Konate and Lucky, I'm going for Konate. Without even thinking about it too tough. Slot believes Gakpo is better than Messi. Can't take his words. He's never said that aloud, but he's very favorable of the player. I wouldn't say he thinks he's Messi. That's that's a bit too far fetched as well. Okay, let's move on and do the player rating. So let me scroll down a little bit so you can see there we go. So let's start with Allison. Allison had a solid game. I don't remember him making too many saves, to be quite frank. In terms of the goal, I can't really blame Allison for that goal. It's a point blank header. I think it was just poor defending from our part. So for me, Allison had a solid game. Nothing that was eye catching or anything like that. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Frimpong, I was very, very pleased with Frimpong's performance today. I thought defensively he was good. I think from an attacking point of view, he gave us a different dimension. You can see Frimpong and Chiesa playing well. We had a better balance on that right hand side because you had two players interchanging and you had a fullback on the overlapping run, which you've not had for quite some time. And his assist for the groundwork goal for me was a bit of, I would say, a breath of fresh air because we seemed so flat. We played in one gear, and all of a sudden he got the ball, switched the gears, went past two players, hit the cutback pass, and then Gravenberg finished it to make it 1-0. So for me, that was a bit of improvisation from the player. Because if you're just going based off keeping ball possession, we're not going to get anywhere. It's just training ground routine where you're just passing the ball in triangles. So for me, that was not a joy to watch at all. But I did enjoy his performance today. I thought he was really good, really positive. So in terms of his rating, I'm going to give him an 8.5. The point 0.5 probably because he got the assist to his name. So for me, he gets a high score today. Now, in terms of Kanate, I thought Kanate being the topic of conversation today, I thought Kanate was okay. I don't think he was amazing today. I think in terms of the goal that they conceded, I don't. I think it was the striker. I forgot his name now, but he barely touched Kanate. So Kanate was doing theatrics on the floor, in my opinion. But I don't think he was poor. I don't think he was that bad today. Uh, I thought he was solid enough. So for me, he gets a 7.5 out of 10. Um, Virgil van Dijk, I thought he was very solid today. This was a Wolves team that didn't really have a lot of danger men, a lot of firepower. So there was not a lot of pressure on the centre backs as much as in previous games. But I thought he was solid enough today. So for Virgil, I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10. I thought he was very, very solid today. Kirkes, I thought was very, very impressive today. Really, really good. Defensively sound. I loved his play with Florian Wirtz on the left hand side. They seem to be forming a great partnership. Um, so take notes, Cody Gakpo, because that's how you play with someone. That's how a winger and a fullback plays together, in my opinion. So no, I was very pleased with Kirk, and he's really improved in the last 2, 3 games. So for me, he gets an 8 out of 10. I thought he was really, really good today. Uh, I could see some of you have given your ratings. I'll present it after my ratings because I mean a lot of you guys have done your whole team. So let me do my team and I will present your ratings very, very shortly as well. Gravenberch, I thought he was solid today. Got the goal. Could have got another goal. Could have got 2 goals altogether today. Um, More solid overall. Kept hold of the ball very well. Good passing. Uh, had a bit more of a freer role, finding himself in a lot more attacking positions. But you know, he did well today, in my opinion. So for his rating, I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Jones was good today, but I do feel like there were times in the game where He gave the ball away quite a bit, but nonetheless, he was the one that was, for me, the progressive player, the player that was trying to play forward passes and not just doing sideward passes all the time. So, despite that, I still feel like he had a good game, but I think Gravenberch probably just edges it with him because he got the goal. So, I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. McAllister, I thought was quite poor. I feel like it was an improvement, a slight improvement in terms of previous games, but I just don't like him in this number 10 role. I really don't like him in this role. I just don't feel like he gives us the pressing that we need from from that position. He lacks the physicality to get past defenders or get past the DM. From a shooting point of view, he has a decent shot on him, but he's not a second striker. You know, as a number 10, you've got to have that element of being a striker in terms of having, you know, different variation of shots and being able to be a goal scorer. He's not really that type of profile. So with the return of Goldie Capo, I know he doesn't like, you know, he's not everyone's cup of tea. But I would hope with him being included back into the mix again, foreign versus revert back to that number 10 role because I feel like that's the role where I will think Wirtz will excel even further and McAllister becomes a more of a bench option going forward. That's what I want to see going forward. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. So for McAllister, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Um, Chiesa finally got his start today. I thought he was all right. Showed some good moments with Frimpong on that right hand side, but wasn't as effective as I would have liked. I thought it was a bit harsh that he got substituted in the 60th minute. I thought he could have played a bit more, but this is Arne. He's definitely got an agenda on the player. So I thought, yeah, decent performance, but not a great performance from him. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. And my client, Florian Wirtz, wow, what a performance from the German wonder kid. For me, he just seems to get better and better, especially in the last few weeks. He looks so much stronger on the ball. There's so many times where he skipped past players with ease, uh, and you can just see his technical ability is above everyone. If I'm being honest with you, the way he's dribbling the ball, he's gliding on the ball. He's such a silky player. He's a joy to watch. He really is. And the goal, fantastic touch, fantastic finish. And I feel like that's going to be first of many. He's definitely announced himself now, and I feel like he's just going to go from strength to strength, and I think he's really going to excel. And a lot of people will have to eat their words at some point. I said that earlier on this season, so I'm not mixing my words. I've said that quite a few times. The people that doubt inverts will have to eat their words at some point this season. So in terms of his rating, I'll give him a 9 out of 10. I thought he was fantastic today. Ekitike, I thought was good as well. Um, I thought with Ekitike, there were phases where he was a little bit quiet, but when he's on the ball, he's such a joy to watch as well. Great first touch. Love the way he skips past players. Maybe could have got on the score sheet himself. Very unlucky in the first half where he hit the post, but I thought he had a very, very solid performance. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. So that is my player rating for the first team. So feel free to drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. Your thoughts, sorry, your thoughts. Let me go through some of your comments there, and let's see your scores for the players today as well. Uh, Ozan, he's gone for a 7 for Allison, which is the same as mine. Mark says, at the moment, I wouldn't trust Maka to butter a piece of toast. He looks so empty. I will agree with that, to be fair. Frimpong, an 8, according to Ozan. Mark gives a strong 8 as well. Bo has given his rating for the whole team, so he's given a 6 for Allison, which I feel that's quite low, to be fair. Frimpong, 7, Ibu, 2. So, yeah, Ibu's not on Bo's favorite list right now. Virgil, 6, Kirker, 6, Ramberg 7, Jones 7, Chiesa 6, McAllister 5, Wirtz 9, and Ekatike 8. Ozan's gone for a 5 for Kanate. Virgil 7. Bo says 7.5 for Kanate. Ozzy is actually Kanate's agent. Please don't put me in that title. I only have one client at the minute, and that is Florian Wirtz. Ozan says 7 for Kirkes. Um, Mark, his ratings for the players are Ali 7, Frimpong 8, Ibu 6, Virgil 6.5, Kirk 7, Gravenberg 7, Jones 7.5, Chiesa 6.5, Maka 5, Hugo Ekitike 8.5, and Wirtz a 9 there. Gravenberg a solid 8. Great finish as well. He felt that needle. Yeah, it was a great finish from him. Curtis Jones 7 according to Ozan, and he's given 5 from McAllister. Chiesa 7. Christopher Big himself is given a 4. I'm not sure to which player that is. Uh, if it's the Florian Wirtz, that's bloody harsh, isn't it? Hugo a 10. Okay. Hugo a 10. Uh, Mark says slot in his star 3. Slot rating. Slot rating. I will give slot a 4 out of 10. The reason I gave him a 4, number one, he did the unthinkable and he played Chiesa at the start, which I didn't think I was going to see that day. Um, I think the addition of Frimpong was a smart decision. Maybe he didn't have a lot of options for that role, but he could have easily put Jones there, because that's something he's done in the past. But I think having Frimpong in the team was a positive selection there. Um, and I think if you look at the team tactically, I think second half we were just a shadow of us. So first half, I thought we performed quite well. You see the likes of Frimpong really excelling. Turkey is doing really well. And the fullbacks I thought performed really good today. And I maybe should have taken a picture during the game, but I found it quite interesting in terms of the shape where you could see both of the fullbacks on the byline. You saw Wirtz and Chiesa literally on the edge of the boxes. That's something I've been saying for a while. That's how I want the setup to be. But I was playing more of a 4-4-2 diamond. But that was, I would say, a positive from the coach's point of view, that he utilized the fullbacks very well, allowing them to be uh, the creative sparks from the flanks. What I think he didn't do well today, um, he played McAllister as a number 10 again. Not the right choice, in my opinion. Um, what else? In terms of his tactics, being 2-0 up at halftime, you have to go with a more of an attacking approach. You can't sit back and think that a 2-0 scoreline is a cushion for us. It really isn't. They scored that goal very early on. If they had more firepower, if they had better players on the pitch, then it could have been a different outcome. And that would have been an embarrassment today, because this is by far one of the worst teams this season, maybe even in recent Premier League history, because they haven't got a win this season. So for me, that would have been embarrassing. So tactically, I don't think he was great. In terms of substitution, he didn't have a lot of options. Um, I didn't like the fact that he put training on him for 2-3 minutes. Give the kid at least 10, 15 minutes. Come on, give him a bit of a chance to play. Um, and he put on Bradley, which was a positive, because he pretty much saved the goal with that last ditch tackle on Arias. And yeah, and I think tactically he wasn't the best. So I'll give him a 4, but it's boosted up to that score because of the result more than anything else. But it's probably overall performance, I'll give him a 2, to be fair. But I'll give him a 4 based on the overall result. Bo says a 1. Okay. Saying to me, I know you were. I know you were, Ozan. He was truly solid. Boss, I think I need to call in soon, Ozzy. Need to make you understand. That's fair enough. Feel free to call in whenever you like. But yeah, feel free to do that whenever you're ready. Look at Kid Mane at Wolves, Aussie, 18 years old, and looked really good. That's what happens when you give youth a player. But the thing is, this is a player that is playing for a team that is in relegation zone right now. They are desperate. They are not blessed with financial power to sign ready-made players. In fact, a lot of people are surprised that the Wolves section was completely sold out, because they have been protesting quite aggressively in the last few weeks because of their lack of trust. in the owners because they haven't spent and invested in the squad. They have no choice there. This is what I'm saying. This is not by the model. This is not their model. They had to play. They don't have much options, and Wolves have a lot of injuries as well, so they had to utilize their squad there. So this wasn't by choice. This wasn't by design. There comes a point in the season where you have no choice but to play the young players who are available in the squad. But he's never been a first choice player, if that makes sense. So that's my argument there. It's all good and well having these young players, unless someone is outrageously amazing. You know, if you've got like a Lamine Yamal in your team, then you have to play Lamine Yamal, right? But not every 18-year-old is a Lamine Yamal. That's my point here. Um, it was though. In terms of what? Sorry, my point is that he's not always been a first team player. You know, he's been brought in because they have no no a lot of attacking options in their squad. Strand Larson, Arias, Fur all could play there. No, Strand Larson is a striker. Arias is a striker as well. Fur Lopez has been playing centre midfield today. Mane played on the left hand side. So normally it would have been Bellegarde that would have played there, but he's out with an injury. Munetsi would have been another option. So they would have, you know, they would normally play Wolf on that left hand side, but they went for a different approach today. So my point is they have injuries, which is why what led to Mane. Mane hasn't played all the games this season, has he? So, you know, I think we have a different way of looking at how to treat youth players. And look, you know, I think because you're a youth coach as well, so that might be the point here. But I feel like, you know, in this modern day, you can't just throw young players in because they've got a decent talent. It has to be where you have to look at it from a human perspective. Is this person ready to play for Liverpool Football Club? You know, one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are not Wolves, respectively. We really aren't. If you don't perform there, no one's going to make a big deal of it. If you perform poorly at Liverpool, that can be detrimental to your whole career. We've had players come in and have played certain games and haven't lived up to the bill, and unfortunately, their careers have gone downhill. Whether it's due to their mentality, due to uh, off-field issues, or whatever the case is. I don't want to profile certain players here, but you have to be very careful in terms of how you manage young players. And that's my thing here. I don't want it to be where you put in a Lucky or you put in a Nallo and you just ruin the killer. Look at Nallo. Nallo might not get another chance to play for Liverpool ever again based on what he's done. Is that fair on him? No. He could have arguably been the best centre back option we had, but because of those two appearances, it's kind of messed it up a little bit. So that's just how I see it, to be fair. Um, a 10. Who's that in terms of the rating? I'm not sure. Honestly, how many football matches apart from Liverpool do you watch? Ozzy, you seem well informed on a lot of squads in Europe. Honestly, not as much as I used to. Um, I try and watch it, you know, matches from the European leagues here and there. For me as well, whenever Liverpool links with a player, for example, I'm always intrigued in terms of why those players are linked. So I try and watch one or two live games and see how they are on the pitch. But honestly, not as much as I used to. I would love to, spend my weekends just watching football over the world. That would probably be me when I was single, or in my younger days where, you had all the time in the world. But with family and kids, yeah, I don't really have that luxury anymore. But I try to watch as many games here and there. Um, but yeah, especially in the European game is a little bit difficult now. But I do try to as much different leagues as much as possible. Um, but yeah, I wish I had more time, to be fair, because I feel like it's nice when you watch certain teams and then you can see certain players evolve, and then when they become Liverpool players as well, it's even a better feeling. That's how I came across the Bosla all those years ago. So, you know, that's always a nice thing when you've actually watched someone's career develop and they end up being a player in your team. So yeah, hopefully maybe I'll watch a few more Wonder Kids and they become Liverpool players in the future as well. We are playing like Wolves, Dozzy. We did play like Wolves in the second half, to be fair. Um, but they weren't playing like Liverpool. We were just terrible, quite frankly. But I think that's down to negative tactics or a negative approach from the coach, thinking 2-0 is the is a scoreline where you can sit back and relax. That's naivety, if that is what the coach believes, in my opinion. But also, so you agree that Rio and Leone don't deserve more playtime? Oh, they 100% do. This is my thing. If you're in the first team squad, I need you to be. You are, for me, one of the 25 players that can have an impact in this team. So that's why I'm very disappointed when you see Trey Leone come on for 2 minutes. What's that gonna do for the kid? Him coming on for 2 minutes does absolutely nothing. Yes, it gives him a cameo, it gives him an appearance tally, may even give him a bonus as well, to be fair. But from a footballing point of view, it doesn't do him any good. And right now, we don't have a lot of midfield options. Today, I think he might have been the only midfield option we had. So because of that, that was poor management from the manager. And he may argue and say, well, look, it wasn't the right time to put a midfielder on and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, why did you put him on for 2 minutes? I'd rather you not utilize him at all and use him in a better way in the next game where he gets about 20 minutes or he gets a rare start here and there. You know, Players like Trey Leone and Rio, for me, are ready for the first team. I'm not saying they are players that should be in the starting lineup week in, week out, but they are, especially Trey Leone, because he's been around the youth team and the first team for a couple of years now. So I feel like he's ready. Lucky's just got into the mix. So he needs a bit more time for me to have the confidence to play him. And centre back, let's be honest, young centre backs very rarely excel early parts in their career. The older they get, that's when they become better players, in my opinion. History will tell you that. In regards to Rio, he is a special talent. For a player of his age, he has unbelievable ability. But you have to have a coach, unfortunately, that believes in that talent as much as anyone else. And I don't think Slot does. That is my opinion. I don't think he does. But then that's what confuses me. Why is he there if you're not going to play him? He's probably there because we don't have enough attackers. Let's be honest. We lost Diaz. We never replaced Diaz. And on paper, he is Diaz's replacement. As in, Diaz is gone, Rio Ingomora takes his place. But in terms of the pecking order, he becomes lost, which for me is not acceptable. So, or maybe Chiesa's last, to be fair. I don't know. See how you will. But I feel like these two players should have played more minutes this season, in my opinion. Of course, it doesn't help that Liverpool were going through such a terrible rut where we were losing back to back games. And in that moment, you don't play your young players. That's something I would say. But there were a couple games where he threw Rio in to be the savior. That's not acceptable as well at the same time. So I don't know in terms of Arne Slot's history at final. I haven't looked into it that deep, but I don't see him as a coach that knows how to manage young players. I don't think he has the man management style to nurture these young players and develop them to the highest level. And I don't feel like he has that great interpersonal skill. I don't see that. I might be completely wrong. I'm only seeing it from the outside, but from clips and things that you see, things that you read, I don't see it. So that's why I've been very vocal. You seem to think I'm on Slot side. I'm really not. I don't really know. I don't want to like just cuss him out for the sake of it. I'll give him his flowers when it's deserved, but also be very rational with my opinions as well. I don't see him being the future of this club. But for the foreseeable future, as in I until the end of this season, I think he will remain as coach because we have no choice. There's no one good out there to replace him with, in my opinion. So that's how I think the club are viewing it. But in terms of the two players you mentioned, I agree. They should be given more game time. And I don't think it's fair that they haven't, to be fair. Both look at Stavio, O'Reilly, Euro, Nueneri, Luskeli, Bergval, etc. Ozzy. But these are very, very talented players, and they're not all 17, 18-year-olds. Stavio is probably about 18, 19. O'Reilly's been amazing for Man City. He really has. Euro, not in a United shirt, if I'm being honest with you. Good player. I watched him a few times for Lille. in a United shirt, he hasn't played to that level. Numeneri doesn't get much game time. He's in and out of the team. Lewis Skelly hasn't been as heavily involved this season, but he's a very special talent as well. Bergvall, he's all right. I don't rate him very much, but he's a decent player. Uh, but you can't compare these players to Lucky. Lucky has just broken into the first team. These players have been given more chances. They're a bit more established for their age group. So if you want to put Lucky in that bracket, that is up to you. I don't think he's good enough to be fair. They are not good enough for those teams because they're young. But I feel like you're missing the point here, Bo. I'm not saying that if you're 18, you're not good enough. From what I've seen of Lucky, I don't think he's good enough to be a Liverpool centre back right now. In the future, maybe, but right now he's not. And I don't want to make this topic about Lucky because it sounds very harsh that I'm saying he's not good enough. I really wish, I really hope he does make it because why wouldn't I? I want players to be given a chance and I want them to be successful at Liverpool. But you're mentioning talents there that are probably the best talents in the world when it comes to the age group. Eustáquio is a Brazilian wonder kid. He really is. He's a very special talent. Chelsea didn't plan on bringing him early this season. They bought him and they loaned him out to Palmeiras, but because he has such a great Club World Cup, they had to bring him in, but they had no choice. O'Reilly, he's come out of the blue, but he looks very, very good. And and you know what? He's been in and around the team for the last 2, 3 seasons. He's not just broken in straight away. He's not been at the youth academy and then Pep's just picked him out and said, "Here you go, here's your debut." He's been in and around the team. He's played games here and there. So that's why he's been able to establish himself. Euro, he plays for United, so probably less better said than not. Nwaneri, you know, he's got players ahead of him like Saka and Odegaard, so he's not able to get into playing, regular amount of games. But he's a very, very good player for his age as well. Lewis Skelly could be one of the England left backs for one of for many years for the national team. He's a very good talent for his age group. If you're saying Skelly is at that level, that is fair. But I haven't seen enough of Lucky to say he is in that level. You can't just say because he's 18, he's as good as Stabio. That doesn't make sense. So you have to bring logic here. These are special talents. These are players that are above the development stages of an 18, over 19, over 20-year-old. That's my point here. Not every 18-year-old is on the same playing field when it comes to ability. So this is my point. I don't think Lucky's at that level. I could be completely wrong. It's just my opinion. I don't think he's as good. And all of those players you mentioned, is Lucky as good as Euro? If you think that's the case, then let me know. But I don't see that being the case there at all. Both they're not good enough for those teams. I'll just mention that comment there. All those teams are big teams, but those are special talents there, Bo. You have to look at the talent. They are very, very special for their age. That's the whole point. Lucky, I don't see it. Let me be frank. I don't see it. I don't think, oh, do you know what? This lucky fella, he could be Al Kubasi right now. If you're seeing that, then let me know. I'm not seeing that. So that's my point here. Remember though, every youth player needs to make a debut at some point. That's all good and well. But my point is, he's not above the rest. He's not above the typical 18-year-old right now. He's just a normal 18-year-old, in my opinion. These talents that you've listed are special talent. They're the best in the world. They're the best 18-year-olds around 18, 19. I don't know what everyone's ages there. 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever their age is. They are where they are right now because they deserve to be there. Lucky for me isn't there at this current moment in time. He could be in the future, but I don't think he is. Do you think City fans thought O'Reilly was a wonder kid? You don't have to be a wonder kid to make a debut. I feel like we're getting a bit off the track here. If you think Lucky is the next big thing, just let me know in the chat because then I'm gonna have to keep an eye on him. I don't see him in that talent. I don't see him as a Kubasi. I'm using Kubasi because Kubasi is an 18-year-old centre back that plays for Barcelona. That's the benchmark. If he's as good as Kubasi, then let me know. If he's not, then I don't really want to have a further conversation because Lucky he's just an 18-year-old centre back. He's not an elite 18-year-old talent, in my opinion. The talent you've mentioned above, they are elite for their age group. That's the difference here. We can't just give players chances because a senior player isn't signing a new contract. Hold on a sec. Ozan's comment says, "I'm really eager to see." I'm eager to see him now as well. I'm really, really eager to see him now. So we'll see. And if he does perform, look, Bon, I will give you my flowers, 100%. If he ends up being a sensational defender for us, you'll get the credit. And I'm not going to say that you won't, because I'm gonna have to remember this conversation, and I'm gonna have to remember this name as well. And let's hope he's not one of those names that never made it, because I wouldn't really want that for the kid. But yeah, I'm eager to see how he develops now, because you made a big case about him today, so I'm gonna have to remember him. But Rio is a special player. Does he get playtime? But that's not his fault, unfortunately. That is the coach. I don't believe the coach has the faith to utilize Rio in this team. I think under Jurgen Klopp, Rio would have played a lot more games. I really, really do. Unfortunately, we're not in the Klopp era anymore. We're in the slot era. Hopefully not for the foreseeable futures, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yes, I do, Ozzy. Lucky. So Hurry Home is a name that I've made a note because you mentioned him. Um, so he's someone I'm very intrigued by. Abe, I've heard about Abe as well. And Rio are all special, but they are special talents, but they are still learning. They're not ready for the first team. You don't graduate to the first team until you're not ready. Trent wasn't. Trent was making rave reviews. You know, Steven Job mentioned his name in his book, saying that this guy is going to be the next big thing. But we didn't put him into the mix because we thought, at 16 he was ready. He wasn't ready at 16 or 17. When he was 18, we thought that was the right time. So you just have to look at it where if the players are ready, then they'll be given a chance. But it comes from the coach as well. If your coach doesn't rate youth players, is the youth really going to get given a chance? No, it's simple as that. Jose Mourinho never really gave youth a chance. Go through his catalogue. He really didn't. So that's the way I look at it, to be fair. Anyone happens to hates the youth. Well, then that's it. That's my whole point there. I'm talking about the manager use of the youth. I'm not talking about the youth players' quality just. But then if that is his philosophy, unfortunately, there's nothing me and you can do about it. There's nothing me and you can speak about to make it a reality. If that's his stance, that's his stance. For now, we will just have to accept it. Wouldn't that is just a reality, unfortunately. Max Stone 15, again, a very, very special 15-year-old talent. Name me another 15-year-old like Max Delman. There aren't many. This is what I'm saying. These are, I don't like using this word, but they are probably generational talents. That's why club have excelled their development and they have moved them into the first team mix. Max Dolman doesn't play a lot of games, does he? But he's in the first team mix. But they brought him in there to just get him accustomed to first team football, and eventually they feel like they can make a pathway for him. That's my point there. With this coach, I don't feel like he's making a pathway for these young players. Under Jurgen Klopp, I always felt like there was a pathway for young players. And that's what hurts me with this current coach because I don't see it. I don't see him wanting to empower his young players. And that is a shame because we do have some great talent coming through. Whether they're Liverpool ready or not is debatable, and only time will tell if they are. But right now, it's very difficult to say if they are. Bo says Lucky is ready, Rio is ready, Neon is ready. Will they play? No. As I've just mentioned, in terms of the youth players, if the coach doesn't believe in playing youth players, there's nothing we can do about that. Me and you can go on back and forth all night. But unfortunately, if the coach doesn't have the belief, then it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But it's just the reality. Sometimes you just have to accept reality, and that is it. He doesn't have the faith to play these youngsters, which I feel sorry for them because the likes of Rio and Trey Leone need to be playing more games. Even if it's extra 10, 15 minutes per game, it doesn't really make a difference. They just need to be involved. They need to play a lot more, in my opinion. It doesn't help that we got knocked out in the Carabao Cup because, quite frankly, that would have been the great platform to utilize these players and further their development. But Slot threw that competition away as well. So this is all on the coach. Uh, Reverend Knight, big up, he says, big up to you both for actually giving Kirkins a good score. Our fan base are extremely jarring. They gave him a 5 and 6s. I think he's uh, been one of our players, our better players these last few games. Um, I don't know if my name is not Bo, by the way, but if you've looked at his score, fair enough. I've given him an 8. They are like he's terrible. He's not been terrible this season. Uh, of course, we can't accept that. Look for our base of youth. Reverend Knight says, I don't know why I wrote ball instead of football talk. It's too late. I think, no, it's all good. Yeah, because I have my graphic presented. I'm thinking maybe you read Bow's comment. It's because Bow's taken over the live chat right now, so you probably got Bowl in your mind right now. But no, I think he deserves a slide. I thought he was fantastic today. Yeah, I'm not saying he's an 8 out of 10 every game. So this is how I do my ratings. I base it on per game. So for me today, I thought he's really good, really solid. I love the way him and Wirtz occupy that left hand side. Great 1-2 play, great interchanging moments between the two. Looks very comfortable. You don't see Kirkers and Gakpo doing that, so Gakpo's got a bit of work to do because if that partnership continues to flourish, then it could be somewhere where you can't move them around as such. But also give the manager shit for it, then or stop defending and saying we have to accept it. How do I even answer that? If that is the manager, how can I? Am I defending that, or am I just stating the reality? I'm stating the reality here, where the coach has shown this season that he does not have faith in the youth players. He's not given youth players the opportunity. So how am I defending that? If I'm stating facts, if I'm stating reality, how is that me defending the man? That makes no sense whatsoever. If you think that's the case that I'm defending, then that is your opinion. But I don't know how vocal I need to be to say that I don't like this coach. Just because I'm not effing and blind, it doesn't mean I don't hate this coach. I don't hate him. That's a bit harsh, but I don't like his management style. I don't know how much clearer I can say that on the show. But the thing is, he doesn't rate the youth. So what can I do to change that? I can say, yeah, I'm team Rio, team this, but if they don't play, they don't play. Just like the whole Chiesa situation. I've been screaming for Chiesa to get starts. But today he didn't perform well. So someone say, well, look, that's why I don't start him because he's average. So then that's the thing. When players don't perform, the manager will say, look, that's my point there. But I've been saying for months, Chiesa needs to be given an opportunity. And today he miraculously got it, but he hasn't much, has he? So that's my point here. I'm not defending the manager. I'm just stating facts. I'm stating the reality. And I don't have to be completely disruptive and say, "No, I don't care what the manager says." If this is what he does, this is what he does. This is my analysis of the manager. This is not my opinion. This is not my support of the manager. This is what I think the manager did. This is what I believe he's doing. I don't believe he rates our youth players. Whether you like that or not, that is the reality. You'll get blown away if Lucky gets a game, Ozzy. I'm waiting for that day now. Now I need to see it. Willing to bet my life on it. All right, let's not go too far ahead there. But look, you've mentioned his name. Um, so I'm sure everyone in the chat will remember this conversation. And we'll be watching him with open eyes whenever he makes that appearance. Ravenat says, like on another fan channel, they gave McAllister more than Kirkis. I nearly fell off my chair. McAllister more than Kirkis. Oh, that's wild. For me, McAllister was our worst player today, but that's just my opinion there. You are saying the right, but question the reality. Don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Oh my gosh, Bo. I don't want to keep going back on because I'm prolonging the show now. But whenever I said I agree with Slot, that I like the fact that he doesn't play Rio, that I like the fact that he doesn't play Trainioni, I like the fact that he mugs off Chiesa, I like the fact that Lucky doesn't get a game. When have I said that? I don't agree with it. I am stating the reality that this coach doesn't trust the youth. Whether me saying the obvious doesn't mean I agree to that. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm going around in a circle right now. I don't like what he's doing. I can't state that any further. But if the coach does not rate the youth players, that is it. He's not going to change his mind and play these young players. So the best thing to do is loan them out because they are, for me, surpassing their development stages. They're too good to be in the under 23s. Rio, I feel like he's still very young. So maybe another 6 months or one season in the under 23s would have been fine for his development at this stage. And if we feel like there wasn't a pathway for him next season, then a loan move to, I would say, a championship side would be perfect for his development. Whether that happens or not, it remains to be seen. But I don't agree with what he's doing. Like chat. Let me know. Have I said that I agree with Arne in terms of his youth tactics or youth philosophy? I haven't agreed with it. I just know from this season he hasn't embedded any young players. Last season, who did he embed in the team that was a young up and coming player? No one. That's my point here. And you're saying questioning the manager's style of slot. What have I been question? I have been questioning his style of management. I can't voice it anymore, so I'm gonna stop here and just go through the comments because I feel like I'm going in a bit of a circle right now. And if you feel like I'm supporting the coach, then that is your opinion. I might have to watch the show back and see how I'm talking. Maybe I'm not communicating it in the right way. But I feel like I've voiced my frustration on the coach. But if it's not coming across that way, maybe something I need to I need to look into because I feel like I've voiced it enough. Steve says name the channels. I agree with football talk. Oh, my name's Ozzy, by the way. You can call me Ozzy. Um, let me Yeah, so you can see it on the screen. My name is Ozzy, so that's my name there. I mean, football talk, you can hold that opinion, but not have to bring it up. I do that too. Um, gave Anfield Jenna gave Kirkis a 6, and Maka 6.5. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you. I don't know what game they were watching, quite frankly. I thought Kirk was really solid today. I was really enjoying his play with Wirtz on the left hand side. They provide a better balance, and even on the right hand side, Frimpong and Chiesa look fine. I feel like Chiesa didn't have the end product today. Um, well, and the wide areas we looked a lot better today, in my opinion. Boss said that we need to accept it. The United fans still protest for the Glazers, even though they won't sell. Can disagree with the reality, even though it won't happen. But you said I agree with the coach. So do you say have I said I agree that we shouldn't play Rio, we shouldn't play Neoni? Have I said that? If I have, then let me know in the chat. But I don't think I've once said that ever on the show. No, I don't say that. Ravenat said we are not accepting it, but sometimes for your mental health, you can't keep raging at the same thing after the day. I hear it. Just don't call him fuzzy. uh My point is we don't need to accept the way the man does it. Like I said, was the question every single thing he does. I do question it, but the thing is, I have to present it in a logical way where I present the reality because it might not be obvious to some, and I give you my take and I give you my thoughts. So the reality is that he doesn't favor the youth player. He hasn't shown that in his Liverpool tenure right now that he is, focused on empowering the youth players. But my thoughts is that I don't agree with it because we've got some great talent with the likes of Rio and Trainioni who are in the first team squad but are not being utilized. Lucky, I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen too much of him. So you seem to have watched more games and you feel like he's the next big thing. So if that is the case, then that's all good. I'm looking forward to seeing him perform then. But in terms of what I have seen of Trainioni and Rio, they are more than ready to play games for Liverpool. But I'm not saying I accept it. It's just that it's the reality. These are my thoughts, but my thoughts are literally just my thoughts. I'm just a fan channel. That is literally it. So me, the thing I haven't even agreed with any of the things that I've said about Slot. So take it how you will. But I've never once said I agree with Slot. Just because it's the reality doesn't mean I agree with the reality. I've given you my take, and I've also presented the reality at the same time. So that's why there's a balance of conversation. I tell you what it is, and I tell you what I think it is. That's how literally I see it. You said we have to accept it. We have to accept the fact that these players might not be given the chance. So make it what you will. If you think I'm on Slot side, then I'm on Slot side. This is the thing I disagree with. Why do we need to accept it? Because he's the Liverpool coach right now. Until he doesn't get sacked, there is no change. That's why I want the manager to go. I've said that so many times, but people think I want him to stay. I don't want him to stay. I'm looking at the reality. Guys, we can't live in our own bubble. We have to see what's in the world as well. Liverpool are fourth in the league right now. Because we're fourth in the league, he's not going to get sacked. Whether you like him or not, he will not get sacked. We all want him sacked. Well, I wouldn't say. I think a large part of us would want him sacked because we don't see him as the right coach for a number of reasons. I'm not going to list it, but he's our coach. Until he's not dismissed, we can't think about life without Slot. You've joked around, Bo, that he might be here until 2035. So you have to. If that would become a reality, we have to accept it, right? We can't think about just thinking about other things like that. So yeah. Also, do you think Slot will survive beyond the end of the season? A lot of rumors he will be gone after season. I think he will be gone at the end of the season. The only way he's given another season if he wins the Champions League. I mean, he needs to do something extraordinary to keep his job. By being in the top four is not extraordinary. That is by default for a club like Liverpool that we need to be in the top four. But to win the Champions League, I think would be an extraordinary achievement based on how our season has pretty much unfolded so far. So if he wins the Champions League, then unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately to some, and according to Bo, fortunately because apparently I'm still in now, um, he might stay for another season. But let me ask you guys: would you like us to win the Champions League this season or not? Based on if we win the Champions League, that means Slot stays for another year. If we don't win, then Slot gets sacked. So let me know what you guys want. I know I said every situation in the world, even though it's the reality. That's fine. That's the way you view it. Ball trying his very best to make this an 8-hour stream. I've just clocked. It's been 2 hours. Yeah, I need to wrap this up soon. Um, exactly to this, Steve. I don't accept every war just because it's the reality. Yeah, I think we're going to extreme examples there. They are saying because the Semenyo fallout, no matter the results, he will be gone after the season. Uh, Alchi, can win it and he can walk into the sunset. I'll be happy with that, to be fair. I do want number 10, but I don't want Slot. I hear you. I would love for us to win another Champions League, but it's a funny one, isn't it? Like in terms of what do you prioritize? Do you want club success or do you want a new direction from the coach? If that makes sense. Honestly, I'd put. I don't know. I don't know. It's difficult to say out loud. You might not believe it, especially Bo. I don't want Slot past this season. I want us to get a different coach. Whether we agree on the next guy, because there are a lot of names like likes of Alonso, Nagelsmann, and all we might not agree on that. But what I want is a different coach that has a more of an attacking philosophy, and I don't see it with Arne Slot. So I might uh say I'd rather have Slot out, but you know. Some will probably think I'm lying there, but it is what it is. But all up to you, Ozzy. I find it refreshing that people can disagree with things even in 2025. Well, look, That's the reason why I've even got a fan channel. You know, it's good to have these discussions. You know, maybe I've not communicated certain things properly, but that's something I guess I can work on. But I feel like made it very clear in terms of my stance about the coach. Um, you know, you say if it's a reality, you can't accept it. I understand that, but that's why I give you I present the reality, and then I give you my take in terms of what should be the reality. You know, and just because I state the reality doesn't mean I agree with it. If that makes sense, I have to state the scenario before I give you the solution. That's the way I do my shows. So if you see it where you feel like I'm being supportive of the manager, that's up to you. But I can categorically say I don't support the manager in that way. I support him for now because he is the Liverpool coach. And just like with certain players, you support them because they are wearing the badge of our club. So that is the way it should be. And I would never want to see my team lose because I don't like a player or I don't like a manager. That is not the right way to go. So I will always support my team first, regardless of any other agendas that I have with someone specifically. Um, so yeah, that's the way I support my club. Boss said no to UCL. I hear it. I've said no to it as well. To be fair, I want us to have a different coach next year. I want us to play a different brand of football. I'm really not enjoying it. I don't know if I can do content creation if this is the way it goes. Honestly, guys, the watch alongs. Shout out to Ozan because Ozan is always on the watch alongs and is always a great person to engage with, and it keeps me going. I'm not gonna lie. The recent watch longs have been terrible. There's been a couple, I kid you not, I think I've nodded off on the stream. I think Ozan caught on to it once or twice. So um yeah, it's difficult. It really is to watch Liverpool at the moment. Revan says, can you imagine winning a Champions League where every game is like that PSG 1-0 win with Ali Masterclass and blocks coming in? That game is just a bit of a madness, isn't it? We were so bad, but at the same time, we got the match winner through Harvilla, who might be back next week, might not be back. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Bo says, my problem is the words we need to accept it. That's fair. If you feel like that's a bit of a strong thing to say, but that's just how I see it. You know, we have to accept it until a change is upon us, and a change isn't upon us, unfortunately. I have been in support of a change for quite a while, which you guys would know that I don't want this manager. And you know who my first choice is. It's Xabi Alonso. Um, and I can vouch for that until the cows come home. But if it's not going to happen right now, I can't be, excuse my choice of words here, deluded, there, Steve, to think that it's going to happen. I have to base my opinions and my thoughts on the current scenario, the current settings, and that is that he is um, the manager or the coach right now, and he will be until FSG dismiss him. So we have to accept it. I know you don't like that term, that you have to accept it, but what else can you do? Otherwise, we drive ourselves crazy thinking we want something and never be able to get it. That's not how I work, unfortunately. That's not how I function. Both of that was the only thing I reacted on. Fair enough. Aussie bench rating. Yeah, bloody hell, Steve. I totally forgot. I'll mention the bench in a second as well. Just a few others. No, guys, I am not doing a show uh, that long. I'm gonna do 15 minutes tops and I gotta go because I've got things lined up for tomorrow morning and I need to be up early. So yeah. I've literally just got a message from my missus as well. So that's when you know that it's time to go to bed soon. Okay, so in terms of Revenite says, who do you want in Jan? I would like Schlotterbeck. That would be the centre back I would love for us to sign. I don't think he's too out there in terms of it not being realistic. I think Mark Gay would be the automatic choice that people think when it comes to signing a centre back. I don't think he's going to want to leave right now. I think it's going to be a thing where he's going to buy this time and make his decision at the end of the season. So the dream scenario would be Schlotterbeck in January, and Konate ends up leaving on a free, and then we get Mark Gay on a free transfer as his replacement. So on paper, you've got Van Dijk, Gahey, Schlotterbeck, and I guess Joe Gomez, but that doesn't bode. That's three centre backs. So for me, it's a bit of an issue to say that as well. But those would be the quality additions. If Konate was to sign a new contract, then I'd be fourth choice. But I don't think he's going to be fourth choice at Liverpool, especially if he can go on and play first team football at a club like Real Madrid. To be fair, Bo says no one. Bo is more focused on the slot. Sorry, the coach managing the players, and I kind of understand that, to be fair. Uh, but this comment makes more sense. Don't give Slot any more players. I hear that as well, to be fair. But I just feel like right now we just need another defender to provide cover because, quite frankly, we are pushing our luck with just relying on Konate and Virgil van Dijk for the rest of the season. Van Dijk is normally, he's not invincible, but he's normally fully fit throughout the whole season. Konate has had his injury records as well. So I don't have a lot of confidence. Joe Gomez, unfortunately, as talented as he is not reliable enough to be third choice. Minimum and fifth choice. Fourth and fifth choice is how I would categorize Joe Gomez. And that's not any disrespect to him. It's just based on availability. If he's on form, he can surpass the third choice easily, in my opinion. But we can't rely on him as a third choice centre back, if that makes sense. Um, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But I really hope we do sign at least a centre back in the January window. Revenant says, I want players for the club, not for him, Bo. I hear that. Bo, so do you think the players have nightmares? Z? I don't think so. Unless you're Chiesa, then you probably do. Uh, this is I'm the only deluded one here. Fair enough. He can go regardless. But big up Ozzy, love from my side. Big up yourself, Bo. Appreciate your support and your engagement as always. We have Lucky Ozzy. Look, I'm looking forward to seeing his debut now. When I see him on the team sheet, you have to make sure um, you're tuned into the watch on because then we can have a chat whilst we're watching the game as well. But I'm intrigued now. I'm intrigued now, to be fair. Okay. I have to do the bench thing. I just literally reminded me. Um, so we didn't make too many substitutions. We brought um, three players on. So we had Conor Bradley replacing Chiesa. Let's bring him off. And then you had Conor Bradley, and we switched these two players. So Frimpong played right wing. And then we also brought on Cody Gakpo for Chiesa. So Cody Gakpo for Ekitike. So Cody Gakpo comes on to replace Ekitike. And Trey Neoni to replace Wirtz in this team right now. So we've got Neoni. If he's Yes, he's there. Fantastic. So, oh, let's see. Conor Bradley. I think he kept things neat and tidy when he came on, but the big talking point has to be that crucial last ditch sliding block that he did on Arias. Um, Honestly, that was a tapping for that striker. He saved us today with that moment. So, as such, I have to give him a strong rating. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Gakpo came on, looked sharp, had a bit of a wayward shot with his left boot towards the latter stages, but didn't have a lot of minutes for me to give him a big sort of score. So I'll give him a 5 out of 10. And Training only played 2 minutes, so I don't think I can give him nothing but a 5 out of 10 as well. So that is the bench rating. Whether that's sleep well, Ozzy, it's 3 a.m. here or about to be in Europe. Big up yourself. Appreciate you staying up late and watching the show. And hopefully we'll catch you again in the upcoming shows. Both absolutely. So before we close the show, I wanted to mention a couple rumors that have been circulating. Uh, so the first one, we're talking about youth players. It's been the topic of our conversation today, and that's regarding Twenioni. So the rumor is that Liverpool are yet to decide whether to allow 18-year-old midfielder Trainioni to leave the club during the January transfer window. They are holding talks with Premier League and Championship clubs to explore the viable options. So my thoughts. Now I'm going to present the reality, and I'm going to present you my thoughts. So the reality is that Trainioni is a fantastic talent, but our coach Arne is not utilizing him enough. That is the reality. Now, my thoughts on that is that I believe that's not the correct treatment of the player. I think he's a fantastic talent that deserves more game time that has been presented to him this season. So I think if our coach had more belief in the player, I would selfishly like him to stay at the clubs because I believe he would have got more minutes. But because Arne doesn't seem to utilize him correctly or doesn't give him the chance to play in the first team, I think the right thing would be to let him leave on loan, on a short loan until the end of the season, so he's able to play first team football. And I think that will enhance his development. And I think when he returns to the club in the summer, he would be in a better position where he can definitely challenge for a spot in the team, whether it's in the starting lineup or on the bench. I feel like he will be available or would be regarded as someone that the manager or the coach will have trust as an option in the squad. So that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm intrigued to see which Premier League team, because it says Premier League teams are interested in signing him. So I'm very, very intrigued to know who those teams could be. If it's like a Brentford or something that will guarantee game time, then I think that would be fantastic for him because I do feel like he can play at Premier League level. Whether he can maintain that consistency, that's the next step. That's the next conversation, I would say. Um, Steve is saying Wolves. If that's one of the clubs, I'll be honest with you, I don't like their manager, Rob Edwards. I don't rate him. So I don't want it to be where he goes there and then gets frozen out. So it has to be someone that I feel like will utilize training on his ability. Otherwise, he might as well stay at Liverpool, where even though he gets a bit part role, I'd rather he do that than completely be frozen out. Just look at Harvey Elliott. If he had stayed, maybe he'd have got some game time on the slot. Who knows? But I feel like he made the bad move to go over to Aston Villa. Bo's asking, is there a stream tomorrow? Nothing planned for tomorrow, or should I say later today, as we've gone past midnight. But what I will say is that next week I won't be able to do as many shows. I'm not at home, but that doesn't mean I won't do any shows. I'm planning on possibly doing impromptu shows here and there. If we get any groundbreaking news that we're about to make a signing, then even if it's me pulling out my phone and going live on YouTube, I might do that. So best way to do. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you are subscribed, make sure to hit that notification bell so you know when those impromptu shows will occur. So yeah, nothing scheduled as such. Um, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on the news and see what's been happening. And if there's any conversations worth happening, you guys will know I'm going to turn up at some point and discuss with you guys. Uh, City probably. I wouldn't give them to City. They don't give us any of their players. Why should we give them theirs? Uh, the treatment of Kwanzaa was horrendous as well. Yeah, but to be fair, I think Kwanzaa made the right choice to move on and play in a league where it's a bit more less physical. It's played at a lesser intensity, and I think he's been able to get game time. He's actually really benefited from that. So in hindsight, it's actually worked out for him. the good thing is that we have a buyback clause, so we can bring him back to the team in the near future. Deluse Steve said, Aussie planning a trip to Ibiza on holiday. I can't be going Ibiza with my wife because that's just wild. Aussie gonna take a selfie with Slot. Oh, that will proper rattle. Oh, wouldn't it? Imagine that. Imagine that. And the final rumor today is regarding this fella in Conchalo Ramos. Now, the rumor is that Liverpool might explore a 6-month loan move for PSG and Portugal striker Conchalo Ramos as a short-term solution for the absence of injured Alexander Isak. My thoughts on this rumor: I don't think there's nothing to it. In terms of the player, I do think he's a decent striker, and to have him as a backup striker will be fine. I wouldn't be against it that much, to be fair. But I don't think that is an area we need to dip into the market right now. So for me, I think this is just paper talk, and there's no real truth into that rumor at all. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely longer than planned. I was expecting to do an hour show. I'm almost giving you guys a 2.5 hours. If you're new and you're tuning in for the first time, please, please, please don't forget to like and subscribe. You might just think, oh, why do content creators keep banging on about that? It makes a huge help for us in terms of liking the videos. It pushes my video to audiences that haven't watched the content before, so it helps with the algorithm. And in terms of subscription, you help build my channel even further. And the more the channel grows, the more I'll be able to do in terms of improving the content. And I might be taking selfies with Slot in due course. Who knows? We'll have to wait until that day occurs. But please do show your support and hit the like and subscribe button. And that is it for today. In terms of upcoming shows, I can't confirm. I don't want to promise and not deliver. Nothing scheduled for tomorrow, but from Monday onwards, maybe I'll do a status update on the community tabs that you have on YouTube, just to give you guys a bit of an update. But I think it'll just be based on the news and upcoming fixtures. I'll definitely be doing a match preview um, as we face Leeds United next, isn't it? And then I'm not sure if I'll be able to do a watch along that day, but I'll definitely try and do a match preview and we can talk about the game in more detail. But that is it for today, guys. Hold on a second. We just got a couple of comments here from Steve. Uh, I see Bo and Steve with the laughing emojis. Bo saying big up to you, Bo. This is stream stream from Dubai hotel room. Yeah, why not? Why not? That's my favorite spot. That's Arne Slot's favorite spot as well. We love to go to Dubai, so you might see a selfie with me and Slot doing a bit of shisha. Who knows? Who knows at this stage? Since the summer, big up yourself, but appreciate your continued support. It doesn't go unnoticed. I really do appreciate it. And both the tactical analysis with Slot. Yeah, I'd rather not. I think I'll do my head in. But I did do a show about a month ago where I presented tactical solutions for Arne Slot to look into the team. So if you've not seen that, because I didn't do that show live, that was a recorded show. So if you go through the channel, the video section that weren't live streams, you will see it. So that's probably one to watch if you want to get my insight on how the team should be set up tactically and what Slot should do going forward. Maybe that's something you can take on board. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.